I'm Jim Aherne, and this is my son Sean. I'm from Rosslare, Strand in Wexford.
And when did you start keeping bees?
About 20 years ago, I would imagine. The reason I started was because I had apple trees and they weren't really producing very much fruit. So I decided to get bees. And one led to two, and two led to three, and so on and so on. So that's what happened, and got an increase in the crop of fruit. So that's how it started.
And did you notice the difference straight away?
Absolutely, within a year. Yeah, really good pollination. The first year the weather was exceptionally good, and they really did work very hard and produce a lot of fruit.
Some years there'll be so much apples it'll break the branches. Like
That's right. Yeah.
break the branches of the apple trees.
Yeah.
They'll be that heavy
Yeah.
from pollination. Like.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you've got a whole load of good varieties of apples. That's
Yes, I had a lot of. Yeah, I had. Yeah, the first of all was a beauty bat, and then they had Brambles, and they had about 10 or 15 different varieties. Some of them are Irish apples that heritage apples.
Yeah.
Very old varieties.
Isn't there a Rosslare apple or something? Isn't there?
Yes, unfortunately I don't have that. It got a blight, fire blight. I think they call it fire blight. I had to destroy it, but it originally had an association with Rosslare. I don't know what the association was, but it was associated with Rosslare. It also associated with County Meath. Yeah, yeah.
What was the name of it? Do you remember?
No, off my head I can't think of it.
And
Gnome Parai was the name of it. It takes a while to register, but Gnome Parai was the name. So it's a French name actually. I think it means nothing compares, but unfortunately it got this blight. I think they call it fire blight. Had to get rid of it because I was afraid it would spread to the other apple trees. I have quite a number. I have about 15 or 20 apple trees, and I was afraid it would spread to the other trees. The bees might carry it when they're pollinating. So that's why I burned it. I cut it up and burned it because apparently it's attacking. That disease is attacking our whitethorn, which is also very important for the bees for pollination. There's a problem with it at the moment. It just arrived into the country, and that's what happened, and it started to spread. Probably something like the ash dieback.
Yeah.
have you noticed any of the whitethorn being affected?
Not around our area. I haven't. Have you? No.
No, I haven't,
No.
no.
But I'm watching the other apple trees in case that it has spread. But so far, I haven't seen any dieback on it. You notice the leaves getting a bit yellow and a dieback, and it oozes a kind of a yellowy sap. Then you get rid of it straight away. Yeah.
And the apple trees, the varieties you have, where did you get them?
Got them in local garden centres in Wexford. Some of them from Cork, but most of them are Wexford. Yeah. I had plums and pears as well, and I had peaches, but the peaches were indoors. They were in the greenhouse. I used to pollinate them with a brush. My wife's mascara brush. Go around pollinate the peaches.
You give the bees a day off then.
Yeah. But the bees wouldn't be flying then, Sean.
Right.
The peach will flower. The flower will come on the peach before the leaves come on the peach.
Oh.
And that's really, it's early spring. You have to pollinate them because there are no flying insects to pollinate them. So that's what happens there.
Out comes a mascara brush.
Out comes a mascara brush, well, unknown to my present wife.
So it is too early in the year for it to naturally pollinate.
Yeah,
Yeah,
with bees,
exactly. Yeah, you'll have to do it with you'll have to have a mascara brush and carry on.
Yeah.
Pollinate away.
And would the bees pollinate everything else for you?
Yes, they will. They will.
We have tomatoes. What else we got?
Yeah,
Tomatoes,
they get into the greenhouse as well, do the tomatoes. Yes, anything
tomatoes, courgettes. What else we got?
well,
Beans.
courgettes, beans, runner beans, broad beans, French beans.
Potatoes.
Yeah, potatoes. Yeah, well, nothing to do with the potatoes. Yeah.
And tell me this, Sean, do you help your father at all?
Yeah, because my dad now has moved on in the year, so I'm what's called now, I do production, and he's sales and
Production
merchandising.
and bossing.
He's sales and merchandising, so he taught me anyway. So I do the bees now, and Dad kind of gives me a hand doing the bees. If you
Well,
know
we
what I mean.
spin it. Yeah, we spin it together.
Yeah.
Sean's wife and
harvesting it.
yeah, Sandra, Sean and I.
Yeah.
We spin it together, and
just filter it and into jars. We
Filter it
don't
into jars.
do any processing.
No,
or anything.
it's just pure raw honey, just as the bees produce it.
And what are you spinning with?
We have a centrifuge. It's
Yeah.
a big drum with a cage inside, and we just uncap the
Hang the hives.
uncap the frames, and then slot the frames into the centrifuge, and just spins it around, and it comes out, then runs down the side of the centrifuge, and then into a bucket. And we just put a filter on it, and goes then. We just jar it then.
It's
from
a
there.
jar it.
And do you sell it commercially?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Dad sells it.
That's
yeah.
my department. I collect the revenue.
Sales and merchandise.
Sales and merchandise, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Papa Jim's is that's what he
That's
sells.
the band. That's the brand.
Yeah, all my dad's grandchildren call him Papa Jim, so that's why hence the name Papa Jim's honey.
My father-in-law was a Kerry man, and he was known as Papa Dan. And when he passed away, then the children and grandchildren started calling me Papa Jim. So it stuck, and they decided on the label. And that was some set up getting the label done. And this was wrong, and that was wrong, and you're not smiling enough, and all this. He's saying to me, he said, "You're not smiling." He said, "Think honey, money, money, honey, and then you'll smile."
Do you remember your man Pat Cormus tell you the story one time about his was it?
Oh, how Pat got involved, yes.
Yeah, but his a friend of ours, Pat, his uncle was a Monsignor, and he was moving on in the years, and he decided he was going to give up the bees.
He was in Dingle, actually. He was based in Dingle.
Right, and Pat didn't know anything about bees, so he decided he was going to.
He contacted Pat to know would he take the hives. I think he had 3 or 4 hives. At the time, Pat didn't have transport, so he got his friend to drive him to Dingle. They collected the bees, and the Monsignor explained to them that they had to leave the back windows of the car open so that the bees, middle of the summertime, that the bees could get overheated. On the way back, they came on a funeral, and he said, "I saw fellas flapping their caps, and I looked ahead," he said, "and there were 6 guys carrying a coffin, and I've never seen a coffin move as fast in all my life." He said, he looked in the back window, and it was covered in bees. He said they had to lock the car and disappear and come back at 10 o'clock at night when the bees went back into the hive again. Obviously, the queen was still in the hive, so with the windows open, the bees arrived back into it. That's how Pat got involved in the bees.
Oh, stop!
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Jogging with a coffin.
Yeah, he said. Yeah, he said, "Let's get out of here before we get killed." Yeah.
Where do you get your bees from?
I got my original bees from Gorey, from Michael Wiles.
Yeah, they're all native black.
They're all native black bees. We don't have any imported bees or foreign bees of any description. That's what we're fearful of, is that somebody, if you have your hives and a neighbour of yours brings in imported bees, what will happen is the bees will interbreed, and you'll have hybrids. You won't have this or that. So the bees will lose their homing instinct. The native black bees here for thousands of years, the monks brought them into Ireland, and we're trying to preserve those and keep them.
Keep the native
species, because they will fly in lower temperatures. They will produce a lot of honey, but they have a vicious streak. That's one of a little bit of a drawback. But once you're suited properly, you shouldn't have to worry about that. But that's the reason we keep our native bees, and we're trying to preserve them and look after them.
And those native bees that we have, they go right back in time.
The monks brought them into Ireland thousands of years ago.
Yeah,
They're here. Yeah.
The Latin name is Apis mellifera, and it's a European black bee. But while there's Italian bees, canolan bees, and there's Eastern European bees.
Buckfast is the bee. Parts of West Cork now would have a lot of buckfast bees. They think that we're mad to have black bees because of the stinging situation, But you suit up and you can handle them. They're no big deal. Yeah. You use gauntlets and suit, and shouldn't be any problem with them.
Would you get the native black bees in other parts of Ireland?
Yes. Donegal, Glencolmkill and Donegal would be a hybrid. Would be an area of native black bees, and quite a lot of the native black bees. Tipperary is big. Gillicota, the Galtee Mountains, and yes, quite a bit. Yeah. But we're trying to, as I said, we're trying to preserve the blacks, not to allow these bees to be imported. And apparently, there was a rumour that we could not stop bees being imported because we were in Europe, or we're in the European market. But Europe said, yes, you can preserve your species. You can look after your native species. So that's what's happening. So we're depending on the government now to look after us.
And is there any evidence that they're breeding?
Oh yes, there is quite a lot. Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah, we call them zebras. Where the black bees are mostly black, but all of a sudden you get a yellow.
You get a
yellow,
striped
yellow,
bee, yeah,
yellow
when
striped bee,
they cross pollinate.
and they become more aggressive. They don't fly well in bad weather. They don't collect as much honey, but they're very aggressive.
And
very
the native black, they could lose their homing instinct, Sean.
Yeah.
That's what could happen,
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
And
When you talk about the homing instinct, can you describe that to someone who mightn't know?
Like when you, let's say we move a beehive from one area to another, we open the entrance to the hive when we put it into position, and it has to be in the exact position it's going to be. And when you open the front, the bees will just pour out the front and they go straight up in the air and they start to spin around and around and around. They go in circles around the hive, and it looks like a complete mess. But they're basically with the magnetic currents of the earth, they're locating themselves. And if you move the hive 3 feet, they will settle back to where they were.
Back exactly
They
in
won't
the
go back
exact
to the
spot.
hive. They will settle on that spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what Dad was saying about the car. When the bees got out of the car and went out into the air, they would settle right back to that spot. If you move the car, the bees would still be on the ground.
Yeah.
They'd still be on the ground.
Oh, yeah.
So
3 feet. What's the saying? It's 3 feet or 3 miles, isn't it? Yeah. You can move them 3 feet.
Up to 3 feet.
Up to 3 feet, but it's not recommended to be moving them that distance. And they will come back 3 feet or 3 miles.
But they'll spin around in the air and then they'll just go back to the hive and that's it.
Yeah.
They're locked into that area.
I
So
think-
that's why we have to have apiaries that are more than 3 miles from each other. So if we want to move bees for anything, we move them to a new apiary and then we can move them back.
Bring them
to the
back
original
again.
into a different spot if we want
Yeah.
to. You know, so it's kind of, a lot of little things in it that you wouldn't think of.
Oh, there is, absolutely, yeah.
And where did you get your first black bees from?
Michael Wiles would have been the
Yeah,
first.
Michael
Wiles would have been,
yeah,
and James Hogan
Yeah.
in Castlebridge. James, Michael and James would be the two.
Michael's up in Tara Hill.
Tara Hill.
Outside Gorey.
Yeah.
And would they have been native up to that part of Wexford?
Oh, they would be. Oh, absolutely, yeah. There would be, yeah. There would be. And when I had a problem or I didn't understand it when it was beginning, I would ring Michael or James, and they would very, very helpful. The beekeepers in general help one another. You know, if you have a problem, nobody will refuse giving you information. They'll all give you information, and they're a fantastic organisation. It was brilliant for me when I retired. I was a chef for 35 years. Well, I was a chef for 50 years, but I was a chef for 35 years in Kelly's and Rosslare. And then when I retired, the bees really kept me occupied. They're fascinating. Unfortunately, my wife developed Alzheimer's, and she's no longer with us. She's in a nursing home. So the bees was a distraction, or maybe took my mind off being lonely and stuff like that. So the bees are very helpful, and I go down and see them in the mornings, have a look at them, checking them.
And you can talk to the bees as well.
They don't talk back anyway. That's one thing about them. They don't talk back. They might sting you, but they won't talk back. Sean will talk back.
So every morning you go down to them?
Not every morning, but mornings, that's just, this time of the year, oh, every morning, yeah. Oh, absolutely, because the workshop is quite beside where I do the frames and the hives and that, so I'm within a stone's throw of it, you know. And they fly past anyway. You can see them past the window on their way to the apple trees. You can see the bees going by. Yeah.
Now it sounds like a stupid question, but would you think they know you? Or is there any
That's
relation?
very hard to know. What would you think, John?
I think they know your mood.
Yeah.
That's a funny thing. I think they know your mood. This is the whole thing about talking to bees. That basically, if somebody died locally, you're supposed to go and you sit down and you talk to the bees.
That's right,
and you tell the bees and stuff. But I think that's a lot of it is to do with people's emotions and stuff like that. That if you're there, when you're talking to bees, you're calming yourself. Like when I'd be working out, I'd be talking away. You know, I'm going to do this now and whatever it is, and talk away, because it actually calms yourself. And if you're calm, the bees are going to be calm. But if you're excited or excitable, the bees will be.
And there's no problem stopping it when they haven't talking any, because we do talk a lot. A lot of it, not nonsense, but yeah. I love them. They're fascinating, and they're really good for the mind. I'll put it that way, Michael. You know.
A lot of bee work now I could do without a suit.
Yeah.
A lot of bee work I could do without a suit. But when they start have honey on board, then you'll have to start wearing a suit, because they get aggressive then, because they're minding their stores, their honey stores. But a lot of, even though they say black bees are aggressive. Most of the stuff I could do without
well,
the suit. Every now and again you might have to run, but
Yeah, you have to
generally
run.
speaking-
Well, I had an incident yesterday, and I had to run, and the bee was after me, and about 5 minutes later I discovered my hearing aid was gone. So we spent 3 hours looking for the flipping hearing aid. So I said prayers for the bees, and found, because I kept flapping and eventually must have dislodged the hearing aid. Stop.
And what time of year will they start to come back out? You said the Irish bees, the black bee will come out a bit earlier, will he?
Yeah, you'd see them
Weather
kind of-
dependent, Michael,
you'd
yeah.
see them beginning of February they start to really
If you
start.
get a sunny day,
Yeah.
sunny morning, you'll see them. Yeah, they'll start moving around. I presume that the scout bees would be looking for. What would you think?
They'll pick up bits and pieces around it anyway, little bits of pollen or whatever. There would be there's always something in bloom somewhere.
Yes.
And but they wouldn't be in any quantity.
The
at that stage.
dandelion would be the first probably that they would go for, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Dandelion would be the first that they would go for because they need pollen, so they're.
Pollen and nectar.
Yeah. And they bring it back, obviously bring it back into the hive and feed the young bees. If the queen starts laying, then the young bees will start arriving, so they'll need to be fed. And so they start working then. But it's all weather dependent, you know. If the weather is good, the bees will fly and the bees will travel. But the bees will only travel the distance that they know they can find their way back to the hive again. The weather is cool, they will not travel that far, very far. They may travel 3 miles in the middle of the summer, but in the very early spring, they will only travel the distance that they know they can get them back to the hive again because they don't have the energy.
Yeah, from Rosslare, where we are in Rosslare now, they can travel as far as the creamery in Wexford or the pier in the harbour. That's 3 miles.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah, it's the pier in the harbour or the creamery the other side.
They can only fly in one direction because we're surrounded by sea. So they're no business flying over the sea. No pollination in the sea.
And what are they feeding on now?
Well,
At the moment you've sycamore.
Yeah.
Again, you have
a lot of sycamore.
Yeah, you've dandelions out.
The Sally,
Yeah,
catkins in the Sally.
yeah,
That's coming to an end. Grapeseed,
yeah.
big at the moment. Grapeseed, and now the grapeseed the season is coming to an end. The flowers start falling off the plants. So we have to collect. If they've collected honey, we have to spin it because otherwise it will go solid. You have to spin it immediately and jar it, and that's good first run honey.
Grapeseed honey goes hard very, very quickly.
It goes, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
the nature of
normal flower, wildflower honey would be runny all year round.
Honey in cool temperatures will solidify. It'll crystallize. No harm. Some people like crystallized honey. Other people, in general, the Irish people prefer liquid honey. The English people in Britain prefer the creamed honey because you can put the knife in and spread it on the toast. We, on the other hand, prefer the liquid honey. But to get it back, just warm it. Put it into the warming cabinet, and it'll come back. It'll come back to liquid again. Or if it happens in a household, warm water. Don't boil it or put it in the microwave or anything like that. But just warm water, and it'll come back to into liquid form again.
And what's the Iceseed rape honey like?
Some people love it. I think it's kind of bland, personally. I think
Yeah.
it's kind of bland, but some people actually go for it. They like it. But
One honey that I don't like is it's the last honey that they will get, the last pollen, is the ivy. Now, some people love it. Saeed loves ivy honey, but I can smell it. When the bees are we can actually smell the hives when they're. But we leave it to them in the winter time. We never remove honey. The ivy honey.
Always leave.
Always leave honey. The bees are collecting honey to feed themselves, not to feed us or to feed the other population. So if you take too much of the honey from them, you'll starve them. When the cold weather comes and they haven't got pollen, they haven't got food, they will die. So you look after them, they look after you. You have to love your bees, otherwise you shouldn't be in beekeeping. Yeah. Do you know?
We only take about half their honey, that's it, and leave the rest.
Yes, I'll leave it to them.
Over winter.
And then we feed them. Syrup, and we also feed them fondant.
Sugar
fondant in a slab. Got a circle in the slab and put it on top of the hive, and they will come up and they will eat away, and you will see the plastic becoming clear. And that feeds them. Yeah. And then when the weather gets warm, we give them fondant, or we give them syrup.
Yeah, sugar syrup.
Sugar syrup.
The sugar
Just
and water.
start them off.
And the ivy is the last.
That's the last pollen they'll get.
Pollen and nectar, yeah.
Pollen and nectar, yeah, exactly. This time of the year, you'd see them going in, their legs will be all yellow. They carry in little pouches on the back of the legs. They carry the pollen and into the hive, and then the other bees remove it and feed the young bees with it.
And you mentioned a scout bee there earlier on.
Yes, he's the fella that searches out and comes back and he does a dance on the outside of the hive. From that dance, the bees will know the direction, the distance that they go to, and he'll actually bring back some pollen,
Yeah,
so they know.
Them have a taste of it.
He lets them have a taste, so they know what they're going for. It's fascinating. I mean,
and if they go for one thing, there could be a field of rapeseed and a field of say
apples
or whatever.
yeah.
If they got a taste of the rape, that's all they will go at.
Yeah.
They won't mix. They just go on
It'll be the one variety. Yeah.
They just go hunting, and when that's done, if somebody else then gets a bit of apple or whatever, then they'll go on the apple. But they don't mix their
No.
So they don't mix the pollen.
No. When they bring it back to the hive, there'll be different cells, and even in the hive there'll be different pollens, be different coloured little cells inside it. Yeah.
Well, honey from this area, Michael, would be all floral honey. This would be all floral honey. Whereas the mountains here, like Carlow, Kilkenny, Wicklow, well, not Kilkenny, but Wicklow, Kerry, would be honey from the mountain, heather honey, which is spun a different way. They press it. We spin it. It's a different honey.
Because it's a runny honey. It's more gelatinous.
Absolutely, yes.
More viscous. And so you have to actually press the frames.
You have to press the honey, yeah. And then we keep the wax and we pass it on to people for candles. They make candles and different things.
Did you ever come across anyone making poultices with the wax years ago?
No.
But people are
The
using
propolis, they use propolis, which is a byproduct of the bees. They use it for sealing the hive. It's antiseptic, antibiotic.
Yeah, that's right. It's sap, basically. It's tree sap that the bees collect, and they bring it back and they mix it in their mouths and they make it like a glue from it. It's a brown glue.
Yeah.
But that's used in Zovirax, the cold sore cream.
Yeah.
That is actually from propolis.
It is, yes.
And you can buy propolis in a shop.
You can buy it in pharmacies,
If it's on a tool or something like that, sometimes on a glove, a little ball of it, and you eat it, and it's slightly spicy. That's how you describe it, yeah.
The bees use propolis to seal the hive. If there's any draft in the hive, they will use propolis to seal the hive. And the propolis is what those products are made from. Yeah.
If there's little cracks, if it's a wide gap, then put wax over it.
Particular trees, sycamore would be one that they would get the sap for the propolis. They will bring it to the hive, but they will they'll actually seal the frames together sometimes, you know. Yeah, they keep themselves warmer, don't keep drafts out. You know?
And the queen bee, is there, with herself, if she dies, or would she die on you?
Oh yeah.
She could. Yes.
The queen bee's lifespan is supposed to be 6 years.
Yeah.
6 to 7 years is supposed to be her lifespan.
Yes.
But at the moment, because of pesticides and various cultures that they're monocultures and stuff like that, 2 to 3 years is maximum a queen bee will last. Maximum she'll last. So usually after about 2 years, then you have to look
either the bees will produce a new queen, or you put a new queen into the hive. They will decide. They will take a young bee before it hatches out, and they will feed it with royal jelly, and that worker bee becomes a queen. It gets bigger.
Yeah, it's an egg. They all start with the same egg.
Yeah.
It's a female bee egg, and they feed it royal jelly for longer, and it actually changes the actual being into a queen bee.
Queen bee.
Yeah, queen bees also can, when they produce eggs, they lay 1,000 eggs a day in the summer. 1,000 new eggs, but they can actually lay male or female. She can choose which egg she lays.
Yeah.
Whatever's in their
anatomy,
they're able to differentiate the different.
The worker bees, and you have the drones. The drones are the male bees. They pollinate with, they mate with the queens.
That's all. That's their only purpose, is mating.
Yeah.
Some people kill off drones because they think that they're consuming honey from the hive and stuff. We don't. We leave them. They're part of variety and more genetic diversity.
They die off in the autumn anyway, Sean. You'll never see drones in the hive in the winter time. They're all dead, or the bees themselves will get rid of them.
And how would you know when the queen bee would die? Do you check every second day, or
we check?
We mark the queen.
Yeah.
Each year the queen has a different colour, and we can. It's just a distinguisher in the hive to find her, because she's bigger than the ordinary bee. She's bigger than the ordinary bee.
She's longer.
Longer, and it's slightly fatter than the ordinary. Yeah. Sometimes it's difficult to find them. They can be hidden in among the bees, or they can be under a frame, but she has to be there.
Yeah.
You know.
Because they wouldn't be producing honey.
Absolutely.
No,
yeah.
they wouldn't produce eggs. That's
Yeah,
how
they'll
we,
pro-
if
yeah,
we,
no,
if we
they
want to
wouldn't
know
be
there's
laying.
a queen there,
Yeah.
we check is there eggs. If there's eggs there, the queen is there. So
Yeah.
we just, this time of year we go through the
Yeah.
frames just in the brood box, which
Yeah.
is the bottom box of a hive, is
Yeah.
the brood box. And that's where the bees live and produce eggs and stuff. And then above that, there's it's a mesh. And the queen can't pass through the mesh, so she can't lay
Yeah.
in the frames above
Yeah,
it.
the bees can,
So
yeah.
the bees then just put the honey up there above. They're always above the eggs. Honey is always kept above the eggs.
And why are they doing it for?
Which?
For the queen? Why are they working so hard for the one woman?
For the
I don't
colony,
know,
they're working for the colonies.
Colony, I think they work for themselves.
Yeah,
but
for
she
themselves, yeah.
yeah. The colony controls the queen. The queen doesn't control the colony.
That's right. Yeah, yeah.
So basically, if
People
they
said
decide-
everybody thinks that the queen is the boss in the hive. She's not. The colony are the bosses. If she's not laying or she's not producing, she'll be got rid of.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
will. They'll
They'll-
produce.
they'll
more,
produce.
They'll produce more.
Yeah.
We call them queen cells.
Yeah.
They produce more queens. There could
Yeah.
be 7, 8, 9 queen cells.
Yeah.
And the first one that comes out, the first thing that new queen will do, is kill the old queen.
Yeah.
And also kill all the
Yeah.
queen cells.
Yeah.
Anything. So, and then she goes off and mates, and it's about from when she's laid. It's about
Yeah,
30
yeah.
days. 30
Yeah.
days before she starts laying again.
I had a friend that he thought one of his hives was queenless. He went away and he purchased a queen, came back, put the queen into the hive, went out in the morning, queen dead outside the hive. And he complained to the guy that he bought the queen from. And the reply was, you should know that 2 women will not live in the same house. So that was it. No satisfaction, but two women will not get on in the same house. Queens.
And I won't keep you too much longer.
Okay.
When during the summer now, coming into the summer
This
now,
time, Michael, you'll have up to 60,000 in a hive, bees.
Yeah.
Very close to it. In winter time would be maybe 20, 25, 30, and they form a ball, protect themselves, and they move. The outer goes in the inner, and the inner goes outer. Protect themselves. Yeah. But this time of the year, they would be up to 60,000 in a hive.
And would you be getting honey now this month?
We'll be taking honey off, I'd say,
Yeah, next
probably
week.
next
Next
week.
week.
I would
It'll be the
imagine.
rapeseed honey
The
we
rapeseed
just-
honey, we will have to take it off because otherwise it'll get hard in the frames. The bees can't even get at it. You know,
Bees can't.
Yeah.
They can't deal with
they
it. at all.
can't eat it. You see, so we'll spin it. When the honey is ripe, the honey is in a little cell. The bees will cap the cell when the honey is down to 17 to 18%.
Water.
It's 80% originally, and they'll fan it and they'll bring it down to 17 or 18%. Then they will cap it. If you spin the honey before it's capped and you jar it, it'll explode. The jars will explode because it will ferment. So the bees know exactly when the honey is at 17 or 18%, then they will cap it, and then it's perfect.
They do when they bring the nectar in.
Yeah.
It's 80% water
That's right.
and 20% sugar.
Yeah.
And they put it into the cell and then they fan. They fan the air, or so basically
Yeah.
they dehydrate.
Yeah.
They dehydrate over time, but you can imagine how much fanning it do with their
Yeah,
wing-
they
with
would,
their
yeah.
with their wings.
A lot of work,
They beat
yeah,
their
yeah.
wings over the thing to.
That's what the worker bees. The worker bees are in the hive. You have scout bees and you have soldier bees. The soldier bees will be very active in the warm months. They will keep the wasps at bay, because if you leave your hive wide open, the wasps will get in, and within a week they will clean your hive. One wasp will get in, then it becomes 2, and then it becomes hundreds of them, and they will clean out the hive. They will kill all the bees.
Yeah. They
So that's what the
take their heads
soldier
off,
bees.
take their wings off,
Yeah.
and bring the body back.
Yeah.
Back to the.
You leave a tiny opening that the bees can get in and get out, and then the soldier bee can control that. If a wasp goes in, then straight away you'll see them attacking it. So they keep the hive protected. That's their job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wasps are carnivorous, while bees are they're what's the word for it?
Placid.
Placid.
Yeah. I
But,
would say.
yeah. So the
Wasps are vicious.
wasps
Yeah.
will eat-
Wasps have wasp pollinators. Well, wasps have their own place in nature, but not in a beehive. We don't want them in beehives. Certainly not. They can get their food somewhere else.
Do you ever come across a wild bee's nest?
Not around by
No,
us.
not around over here, yeah,
because
yeah.
again, we're not. There's not many woodlands.
Yeah,
around
you'd want
Rosslare.
woodlands for that. Old woodlands where the trees are, you could get horizon trees. Yeah, old churches would have them. In church roofs, they would have, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of them. Eaves of houses, when they swarm, they could land anywhere. You know, they just.
There's a couple up in Glenbrine that every year we have to set bait boxes up at their house and their farmyard in there, and we pull swarm after swarm after swarm.
Yeah.
They seem to collect at this house, and the woman for the last 17 years has been plagued by bees. Year after year, they live in the chimney, in the walls, and she said she have small kids, and she said she approached us before to ask us could we do something about it. So now we put bait boxes up there, and the bees go into the bait boxes, and once they go into them, we just close the box and bring the box back to Wexford. Back to Rosslare.
Some of the swarms are very accessible, and some of them are very, very difficult. Some of them would be so awkward that you would have to get a carpenter to remove maybe fascia boards or something like that. So it's not worth it in some of the cases. And eventually, they will possibly go away themselves. They may be there, but sometimes it's not worth the amount of damage that you'll have to do to get at them. And they could be gone in too far, you know.
Did any of yours ever swarm on you?
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Oh,
yeah. And it's heartbreaking when you see them. Like you see this whoosh and they're gone. That's half your hive gone. That's half your production gone.
Gone like that?
Oh yes. Yeah.
They'll take half the honey.
They gorge themselves before they fly, so that they're well fed until they start establishing a new colony. But they're well fed, and that's where the honey goes.
Yeah, and we had to follow them as well through bushes and everything on the side of a tree, and then knock them back into a box.
Sean does that. He's fitter than me.
And then knock them back into the box, seal the box, and then bring it again. We'll bring it out 3 miles.
Then you have to go away 3 miles with them, because otherwise they'll go back to the original place. Yeah.
And then swarm again. Yeah, and you'll swarm again.
They all say 3 feet or 3 miles. Yeah. Otherwise they'll come back to the same area. Then they'll swarm again.
Just you give yourselves an awful lot of hardship, don't you?
Yeah.
Sure, we were born for punishment. You know, suckers for punishment. And the beekeeper that tells you he doesn't get stung, he tells lies.
No, like Dad said earlier, it's very good for the head.
It is.
Very good.
Very, very good.
Yeah, because they're so active and they're moving and they're
There's always something.
Make sure your head to slow down. Like.
There's always something happening around the hive. There's some activity going on all the time. And even to watch what they're bringing in, the legs, sometimes it's yellow, sometimes it's kind of browny colour. Depends on the pollen that they're getting. It's fascinating seeing them going in. And sometimes they queue. If the opening is small, they'd be queue to get in, you know. And then the worker bees remove the pollen and away they go again.
Why are bees important?
Because without bees, we wouldn't have food. That's basically the reason.
They pollinate.
So many crops.
Yeah. The only thing they don't pollinate is grasses and, like, say, wheat and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But every single other vegetable, fruit,
flowers, flowers,
trees, everything depends on pollination.
Absolutely.
And the major pollinators are wild bees and bumblebees and honeybees.
Yeah. Would be the honeybee would be bumblebees.
Yeah. This, like Einstein said, after mankind would only survive 5 years after there was no bees.
That's right.
Because there's nothing. There'd be no fruit, no vegetables, nothing.
That's right.
Do you think we're in what kind of situation are we in now?
Well, there was a time when they were using pesticides which were very bad. They were they were called systemic. They got into the plant, and as a result, the bees were getting, and it was killing the bees. And that's nearly gone now, isn't it? I think most of it is banned now. But it was systemic, and the bees picked it up, and
the bees lick each other. So if one bee, and they taste each other's nectar. So if one bee gets to a plant that has poison on it, literally within a few days it'll spread completely
through the whole hive.
Pass it to each other.
Yeah, vital.
Pass it to each other. Yeah.
So, but I suppose science is teaching people as well that if you kill the pollinators, you're in trouble, and we have to listen to nature. If you don't listen to nature, well, future of mankind is in jeopardy. I would think. You know.
And you'll keep on beekeeping at UE?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, without a doubt.
Arguing and, you know, and
Well, we have disputes. We have to be settled, you know, disputes. Why don't you do it? Yeah.
So, like I said before, like I'm production, and he's sales and merchandising.
And everything has to be done yesterday. You see, there's no such thing as could you not tell me 4 days in advance that you need so many frames ready? No, just I need now. Well, see, a bit of warning is good, you see, just.
Yeah, but you have to kind of get on with it, like, as well.
Absolutely, Shani. Absolutely.
Wandering off. Yeah.
Oh, I do a lot of wandering off, yes.
Starts the job and then wanders off. Yeah.
The lot of miss my father said it was the best man he ever came across to start 100 jobs and finish none. And the man was right, you know.
You won't give up your hobby now at this stage, will you?
Certainly not. No, it keeps me occupied.
And
Yes,
it's more than a hobby, it's a business now.
It is. Oh, it is. Yeah. Well, yes, it is. That and fishing, and keeps me occupied.
Yeah.
And listen to Sean giving out. Why
That's
don't
my
you
job.
do this? Why don't you do that? Why don't you do that?
No, we enjoy. We both.
We do, yeah.
Like I got into it to just help Dad and whatever, and Dad taught me things, and James and Bob and
James,
stuff.
yeah, Bob,
I
yeah.
learned off all them
Yeah, and
old
Mick.
beekeepers and stuff, and carrying on the tradition and
That's right.
expand.
Thanks for your time, Ben.
You're
Yeah.
very welcome,
Thanks,
Michael.
Michael.
Thank you, Michael.
Thanks, lads.
I hope it benefits somebody.
Da da